In a world of myths, the mighty dragon Fafnir symbolizes greed and broken trust. His story is about a family destroyed by a cursed treasure, leading to a tale of revenge and bravery. Once a man, Fafnir became a dragon to guard his gold, driven by greed stronger than the gods. His life, marked by fights and loneliness, shows how greed can destroy. Tracing his origins back to his birth, Fafnir was born to the ancient giant Hreidmar, who had 3 sons, each blessed with unique supernatural abilities. The youngest, Otur, possessed the enchanting ability to transform into an otter. He frequently utilized this gift to fish in the sparkling waters nearby, a modest activity that starkly contrasted with the grave misfortune that would later befall him. This serene existence was brutally disrupted when Loki, engaged in one of his mischievous plots, killed Otur during his otter escapade. This act of thoughtlessness sparked a sequence of events fueled by greed, ultimately leading to a curse and the subsequent amassing of a cursed treasure. Enraged by his son's death, Hreidmar demanded a hefty ransom from the gods, filling an otter's skin with gold and covering it completely with Andvari's treasure, including a potent cursed ring destined to bring ruin to whoever possessed it. Loki, the eternal schemer, complied, but not without maliciously cursing the gold as he relinquished it. This immense treasure quickly sowed discord within the family. Overwhelmed by greed that surpassed even that of the gods, Fafnir murdered his father Hreidmar to seize all the gold. To protect his spoils and himself from his potentially vengeful brother Regan, who might desire a share, Fafnir transformed into a dragon. A guise mirrored his avarice and malice. He retreated to a remote forest where he hoarded the gold, gradually fusing with it both physically and spiritually. Fafnir's transformation was not just a physical alteration, but also a symbolic one, emphasizing the destructive nature of his greed. His new dragon form, terrifying and isolated, unleashed fire upon anyone foolish enough to approach his hoard. This embodiment of greed zealously guarded his ill-gotten gains, illustrating the extreme lengths one might go to protect such treasures. Meanwhile, Regan, the sole surviving brother, concocted a plan to reclaim the treasure. He took under his wing a young hero, Sigurd, teaching him the art of war and crafting for him a mighty sword, Gram, capable of slaying a dragon. Sigurd, nurtured on tales of valor and steeped in the virtues of heroism, was shaped into the perfect nemesis for Fafnir. The climactic encounter between Sigurd and Fafnir was a mere battle and a profound moral conflict. Guided by Regan, Sigurd located Fafnir's lair and confronted the dragon in a fierce showdown that tested his fortitude. Armed with Gram and a resolute heart, Sigurd battled Fafnir, ultimately slaying the beast and ending its reign of terror, albeit inadvertently binding himself to the treasure's curse. This confrontation was emblematic of the struggle against the pervasive greed represented by Fafnir. Sigurd's victory, though heroic, highlighted the intricate nature of such quests where the boundaries between right and wrong blur, particularly under the influence of cursed gold. Post-battle, Sigurd's triumph was tinged with bitterness as he found himself ensnared by the treasure's curse. The saga underscored not only the physical perils of such mythic quests, but also the internal and ethical battles heroes must endure. Fafnir's hoard, while rich, was a labyrinth of deceit and curses. Every piece of gold and every jewel in the vast hoard was steeped in the profound sorrow of its previous owners. Sigurd, now the custodian of this treasure, had to navigate his new reality, where the line between blessing and curse was as thin as the edge of his sword. On the other hand, his brother Otur, with his magical ability to transform into an otter, managed to sustain his family by fishing. This innocent power, however, unwittingly set the stage for tragedy. During one of Loki's impulsive escapades, he killed Otur in his otter form for sport, igniting a catastrophic chain of greed and revenge. In the aftermath of Otter's demise, Fafnir and his brother Regan were overwhelmed by grief and fury and demanded justice from the gods. Aware of the situation's gravity, Odin offered them a substantial amount of gold. However, their greed was far from quenched. They demanded the entire hoard of Andvari, a dwarf renowned for his vast, magically acquired wealth. Andvari's treasure was extraordinary, comprising countless items of gold and a uniquely powerful cursed ring he held most dear. Under duress, with Loki's cunning assistance, the dwarf was forced to relinquish his treasure, but not before he cursed it, prophesying death and despair for its holders. Despite the dire warning, Fafnir and Regan, blinded by their avarice, seized the treasure, dividing it between them. This division planted the seeds of their ultimate destruction. Jealousy and the cursed gold's malignant influence began to erode Fafnir's humanity. His psyche darkened under the treasure's spell, his heart hardened, and a cruel greed took root within him. It wasn't long before he turned on his brother Regan and murdered their father Hreidmar to claim all the gold for himself. The metamorphosis that ensued was both literal and symbolic. Fafnir's greed transformed him into a dragon, a creature emblematic of his inner monstrosity. Retreating with his accursed horde to a secluded lair, he became a formidable guardian of his ill-gotten wealth. His lair, situated in a remote and forsaken landscape, became strewn with the remains of those who dared to challenge him, the scorched earth around it bearing witness to his merciless defense. This new draconian form was perfectly suited to guarding the treasure. His formidable new body, clad in scales tougher than any armor and capable of breathing fire hot enough to melt stone, was a powerful deterrent against all who sought to approach. His existence dwindled to a solitary, bitter vigil, eternally watching over a treasure that brought him nothing but misery. The once close bonds with his family and kin disintegrated, leaving Fafnir isolated in his expansive cave, with only his dark thoughts and the relentless whisper of the curse for company. The dragon's life became a stark testament to the perils of succumbing to greed and the heavy burden that immense wealth can impose. His climactic confrontation with Sigurd, a hero crafted by Regan specifically to slay Fafnir, marked the culmination of his tragic saga. Sigurd, armed with the magical sword Gram and guided by Regan's vengeful strategy, faced the dragon in an epic battle. This clash was fierce, mirroring the titanic struggles typical in Norse myths, where heroes and monsters battled amidst the schemes of gods and the fates of cursed treasures. Sigurd's victory over Fafnir was bittersweet. With Fafnir's dying breath, he imparted a final warning about the treasure's curse, urging Sigurd to forsake the gold that had brought so much suffering. This moment underscored the tragic realization of a life misled by greed, a powerful ending to the saga of a creature undone by his own vices. Motivated by a dark longing to own the treasure himself, Regan's moral compass disintegrated as he plotted Fafnir's downfall. In his complex schemes, Regan enlisted Sigurd, a young hero celebrated for his bravery and strength, but also vulnerable to manipulation, an ideal target for a schemer like Regan. Regan and Sigurd together crafted a clever plan to kill the draconian beast. Their strategy was simple yet fraught with peril. Sigurd would conceal himself in a pit near Fafnir's lair, directly in the path of danger. While the dragon relaxed outside his cave, deceived by the false security of his remote stronghold, Regan would guide the beast toward the pit. As Fafnir lounged on his gold, deep inside his lair, the plans of Sigurd and his deceitful ally Regan sprang into action. Their carefully orchestrated strategy to assassinate the dragon relied heavily on the element of surprise and Sigurd's prowess as a warrior. Regan's role was to coax Fafnir out from the safety of his cave, while Sigurd lay in ambush, hidden within a pit they had prepared the night before, strategically placed along Fafnir's usual path. The execution was flawless. As the dragon unsuspectingly lumbered over the pit, Sigurd, equipped with the mighty sword Gram, a weapon of legendary sharpness and strength given to him by Regan for this exact moment, readied himself to strike. The timing was critical, and when Fafnir was precisely overhead, Sigurd struck with precision and brute force. The impact of Gram on Fafnir was catastrophic. The blade, enchanted to cut through the toughest scales, plunged directly into the dragon's heart with deadly accuracy. The strike was followed by a thunderous roar from Fafnir that echoed through the forests and hills, a guttural cry so potent it seemed to herald the end of an era. The trees nearby swayed as if bowing to the significant shift, marking the end of Fafnir's reign of terror. Fafnir's massive body, once a symbol of his invincible strength, now collapsed over the pit. His lifeblood, thick and tainted from years of hoarding cursed gold, began to seep into the soil, staining it darkly. The ground absorbed the dragon's blood, rich with the physical and symbolic corruption of the wealth he had guarded. It seemed as though the earth itself was seeking recompense for the greed and devastation Fafnir had unleashed. With Fafnir defeated, the air was heavy with the remnants of his final, earth-shaking roar, signaling a definitive end to his era. Sigurd, standing victoriously over the fallen beast, felt a complex mix of triumph and introspection. The vast treasure, now masterless, lay before him, a colossal array of gold and gems, tainted with curses and the blood of those bold enough to have pursued it. Yet Regan's evident betrayal dimmed this moment of victory. The greed that had spurred Regan to orchestrate his brother's death now resurfaced as he covetously eyed the treasure. His plan had always been to use Sigurd as a pawn, to secure the hoard for himself once Fafnir was no longer a threat. Regan's treachery quickly unfolded as he turned on Sigurd, attempting to kill him and seize the treasure for himself. But Sigurd, no longer the inexperienced warrior who had embarked on this quest, was prepared. Anticipating Regan's deceit, he reacted swiftly, reversing their roles in an instant. In a decisive confrontation, Sigurd killed Regan, ending the betrayal cycle that had begun with Fafnir's own fratricide. Now the sole possessor of the hoard, Sigurd faced a new dilemma. Legitimately his through conquest, the treasure's legacy of bloodshed and curses was a burdensome heritage to bear. He contemplated the dragon's last warning, the curse that had doomed Fafnir to a life of solitude and insanity. Was the gold truly worth such a price? Sigurd's triumph was more than a mere conquest. It was a victory over the pervasive greed that had cursed all who had previously touched the treasure. He opted to claim the gold, but with cautious prudence, mindful of the curse's potential to corrupt. He intended to use the wealth judiciously for the benefit of others, ensuring not to fall into the same traps that had ensnared Fafnir and Regan. With Fafnir's demise, the balance of power shifted dramatically. Sigurd and Regan, momentarily united by victory, soon discovered their partnership tested under the immense weight of the gold, illuminating the depths of Regan's avarice. His facade of collaboration dissolved, revealing his true intentions. Regan's betrayal was swift and lethal, akin to a viper's strike. He turned against Sigurd, aiming to murder the young hero and reclaim the treasure for himself. However, Sigurd, seasoned by the trials of battle, anticipated Regan's treachery. With a rapid, decisive maneuver, he reversed the situation on Regan, using the very sword that had slain Fafnir to end Regan's life. The curse of Andvari persisted malignantly, its dark legacy clinging to the gold with relentless tenacity. Sigurd's family was not spared from its malevolent influence. His wife Gudrun was ensnared by the curse's madness-inducing whispers, her mind slowly unraveling as the gold's grim influence permeated deeper into her psyche. His son, Gunnar, met a violent end, his life claimed in a brutal conflict sparked by the very treasure Sigurd had fought so valiantly to obtain. The gold, rather than a beacon of prosperity, became a harbinger of despair, fulfilling Andvari's grim prophecies with each life it claimed and each blood-soaked incident it incited. This treasure, cursed to bring doom to its possessors, consistently proved its lethal legacy, weaving a path of destruction through the lives of those audacious enough to claim it, underscoring the grim reality of the ancient curse with every misfortune it engendered. The story of Fafnir and the gold transcends mere tales of adventure and dragon slaying. It resonates deeply as a stark allegory for the corrupting power of greed. This tale of Fafnir not just thrills, it warns of greed's ruinous power. Does wealth justify the moral cost? Like, comment your thoughts and subscribe for more.